All right, first we're gonna make the dough. Flour, a little splash of salt, some water, and we need to get an egg. You gotta watch the dough, depending on your temperature outside as well. The humidity can affect your dough. You might have to add a little more water. You might have to add a little more flour. Tiny bit at a time, because a little bit goes a long way in dough. Alright, we got our dough. We're gonna wrap it in parchment paper and let it rest for about 10 minutes. Let all the gluten and stuff do its thing. And then we'll make some pierogies. Our dough is sat and rested. I like to cut the dough in portions. It's easier to work with in smaller amounts and doesn't let it stay exposed to the air and get hard on you. Alright, so we're going to roll out some dough. You want to roll from the middle because you want to get it on the thinner side, so you want to keep rolling out. You don't have to keep any sort of special shape or anything like that. You're just rolling. And then I actually have a circle cutter. You could use a soup can. You ask somebody old generation what to use, they're going to tell you whatever circle was handy in the kitchen at that particular moment. The filling we're making today is potato and onion, and I made that last night. You want to always make sure you make your filling day before is better, or at least enough for it to get cold. You don't want to try to put a hot filling in a dough. Save your scraps, put it back in the parchment paper, keep the air off of it. You can re-roll that and use it again. All right, we're going to start scooping. And depending on what size circle you make is roughly how much of a scoop that you put in it. Because you've got to be able to close it and it's got to be able to seal, and you don't want your filling to come out. So basically I mush them down, try to keep it off my edges. And then I take a little bit of water and wet the dough just to be sure that we have a good seal. And then start on the ends and work your way to the middle. And there you go, one pierogi. Now we're gonna make some. You're gonna drop them in boiling water. And you're gonna wait for them to float to the top. Some people prefer to eat these boiled, which is how I personally eat them, covered in bacon and bacon grease. But I'm going to make them a little more of a traditional way for you today. And we're going to take them from the boil, and then we're going to pan fry them in butter and onions and get a little texture on them. You can eat them just like this in the boiled state, but we're going to go ahead and take it one step further, and we're going to go ahead and pan fry them as well, frying them in some butter and onions.
Hi, my name is Renato Garcia. A family tradition dish that was passed down to me from my mom is my favorite tomato sauce with Spam. It was passed down from my grandma to her, down to me. Normally we would eat it when it was times where we were waiting for the paycheck come Friday, or we had nothing else to eat. So as a college kid, it was one of the things I used to eat all the time through college. All you need is a can of tomato sauce, some Spam. You slice or cube the Spam however you like. Wait till it gets nice and brown, put the tomato sauce on top, and eat once it's all nice and warm. So I hope that my family tradition is something you guys are willing to try.
The tradition I carry on is share the food from my childhood with my kids. This is a korkata, which is a dumpling which has sweetened coconut in it. I remember as a kid sitting in my grandma's kitchen along with my cousins aunts and uncles and shaping these dumplings and steaming them. And once, when everything was ready, over a cup of tea or coffee, we would sit and enjoy them. There was a lot of love, fun, and laughter in the food. Today, I make the very same dumpling in my kitchen, and my kids often join me, and we have a lot of fun, and we share stories, especially from my childhood. I feel that food is a good way to connect people. It is a good way to share your traditions and your family stories with your kids. It is food that truly bridges the gap between generations.
Hi, my name is Tyler Kruger. I'm here in Erie, Pennsylvania, and tradition I carry on is making sausage. It goes back several generations now. My family, my grandfather back in the day used to sell sausage at clubs around holidays and take orders from all the guys. Passed on to my dad. We had huge sausage parties. Now I make sausage myself, and I share it with all my friends. My friends call me TK's famous sausage, so just sharing on some family traditions.
I am about to be on a Zoom meeting that I just love this opportunity because I'm on a Zoom meeting with people from all around the world. That is a new experience, and all of these people are part of what I'm thinking of as a movement to focus on healing collective trauma. I know trauma as a psychotherapist, but I also know trauma in the developmental sense, which many of us have from our lineages, that mine didn't know how to nurture babies. And so I have trauma that's been a lifetime work that continues and also mirrors my understanding of what trauma is in a large sense. You know, how it works, how it shuts people down, or how it shut me down, how it causes us to freeze or back off from taking action or being aware of things that we want to avoid. So this is helping people to be aware and find their commonalities and find, okay.
I was raised to believe that just for existing, I deserve to be tortured in hell forever. And as a result of those beliefs, I spent 3 years in ministry school training to become a missionary. And over the course of studying scripture, eventually I left those beliefs behind, but what remained is something called religious trauma syndrome, which manifests itself very similarly to complex PTSD, several traumas over and over and over again throughout my childhood, an anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and really why I'm on here is I just want to plead with parents. These beliefs can be really destructive. They can completely shatter a child's psyche. They can cause lasting problems into adulthood. And I just really want to beg and plead with parents. Don't teach your kids this stuff.
Tradition I carry on is the learning, cooking, and documentation of the recipes of my family from both sides. Currently, I'm eating my grand aunt's sweet potato poon. She got this from her mother. So this regular recipe is well over 150 years old. Now is the time for people in my age group and generation, especially if you're native from the Low Country, to reach out to your elders. You know, I tell people reach out to your elders every day or at least once a week to see how they're doing. But also touch up on your family history and most importantly, document it. For me, one way me being closer to my ancestors is reaching out to my grand aunt and my grandparents and just finding out what was, fixed back then. Food is the way to my heart. So this is how I see myself getting in touch with my ancestors.
When I was young, I was raised to believe that before a woman gets married, they have to get paid, meaning the guy that's marrying you has to pay a certain amount of money to the parents because they feel like it was right. And every woman in my family, my grandma, my aunties, my mom, they was all paid for. Although that's all I was raised to believe, I will never let a man pay for me because I'm not an object, and I never wanted to feel like I want to be sold or anything like that. So when these men pay for you, they start to think that they own you, and they start to think that they can abuse you, beat you up, and do all that bad stuff because they paid for you. When you pay for something, you own it. It's yours. So you want to do anything you want to it, and you want to, because it's yours. And this happens a lot in the African community because even my friends, all of them, they tell me the same thing with their parents. Like, my dad came back from work and he beat up my mom because she didn't make food. And it sucks growing up and seeing that because you don't want to see your mom getting beat up by your dad because she didn't do anything that, she didn't do anything that he didn't want her to do. And to me, that's traumatizing because I hate every time when my mom was still married to my stepdad, he would do everything he wanted to her. And he wasn't my biological father, so to me, when I seen him do that, it was hurting me, and it's like, why is he doing this? Like, and I was so young, so to me, it was like, who gave him the right, and why do they think this is okay? And then I would look at my little brothers, and I'm like, I hope they don't grow up to be like this, because it's heartbreaking for any child to see their parents do that. And I've told my mom multiple times that I don't want to be paid for, and I don't want to be sold as an object. They don't look at it like that. They see it as we raised you, and now we have to get paid back for raising you. And that's not just right. It doesn't sit right with me. If you raise me, be proud of the fact that you raised me, and then be proud that I'm going to get married to someone who loves me and not someone who wants to buy me and someone who's going to abuse me and do all that bad stuff that you don't want to see me go through.
Hi, my name is Kirsten. A family tradition that I carry on every Christmas is making my parents' recipe for Swedish Christmas glögg, which is a mulled wine, except my parents' version is so strong it's more like rocket fuel. It has cardamom, cinnamon sticks, lots of Christmassy spices, and it's served hot, and my parents actually used to set it on fire when they served it, which was pretty exciting for our guests because they weren't used to that sort of thing. And later on, we all sit around the piano and sing Christmas carols and other things, and it just feels like drinking glögg and singing is one of the best parts of the holiday.
And how I personally interact with that question, with the question of what do we want to bring forward and what do we want to leave behind, I think has a couple of facets. There's a couple things that are just really on my mind and have been on my mind for the last few years. And the first one has to do with intergenerational trauma and with how trauma gets passed from one generation to another, and with how that is a process that can be healed from, and that we can actually stop the intergenerational transmission of pain from parent to child, from grandparent to child, and onward. And that we can do that by confronting things that have happened in our lives, by embracing various forms of healing. We can do it through storytelling and sharing and honesty. And that's one of the reasons why I love the American Portrait Project so much, is that I think that anything which facilitates an environment of honesty and of sharing and of sort of collective conversation is going to be one node in how we heal our legacies and how we become conscious about our legacies. And in my own family, just last week it was my birthday, and I decided to pull up my mom's cornbread recipe that she used to make, and it was so interesting. My mom has passed away about 5 or 6 years ago now, and the last few years I have really focused heavily on healing the sort of traumatic legacy of growing up with my mom, because my mom was addicted to heroin, she was addicted to alcohol. She had at times when she struggled really, really seriously with mental illness. And so growing up as a child of that person brought a lot of pain, brought an incredible amount of pain, an incredible amount that I needed to heal and that I needed to let go of if I was going to become a grounded, stable, and loving person. And so for the last few years, I've really focused on how to let things go, how to feel my own anger, feel my own sadness, confront all the things that were truly awful about growing up with the mother that I did. And then making that cornbread recipe, I realized that it was like this physical way to bring forward this other aspect of who she was, because she wasn't just a person who struggled with addictions and mental illness. She was also a warm, caring, wonderful woman who loved her kids and who would like make cornbread and make zucchini bread and you know, try to like get everyone together on Christmas and be festive and celebrating, and she was funny and she would laugh, and she, you know, she just made you feel listened to, and she made you feel excited to be in her presence and all these amazing things. And you know, when I made that cornbread, and I hadn't baked in not since I was like 12, and I would bake with her, you know, I was stirring in all these ingredients and I'm going, God, is my oven gonna work? Like, what's happening? And you know, and then when I pulled it out of the oven and it was beautiful and it tasted just like her cornbread, and I was like, oh my God, here you are. Like, you are still here in these ways and in these, you know, something as simple as a recipe. And so it just made me think about how it matters to carry those traditions forward, that there are small practices and there are little things that people that we loved used to do. And no matter how complicated they were, that there are still these like tangible ways to bring their love forward. And so, yeah, that was one of mine. And so with this work, I'm really hoping to focus on how both of those processes can exist at the same time, that we can spend years crying and being angry and trying to grow past things that you want to leave behind, and then you can still just like reach back and say, but I see that you loved me, and I'm never gonna let that go. That part stays.
Hi, my name is Alan Ayaginachdal, and I am Yupik. I'm from Bethel, Alaska, but right now I am living here in Valdez. A tradition that I carry on is the harvest of subsistence foods, whether that be through berry picking, plant foraging, or occasionally partaking in hunting and fishing. This has taught me to tread lightly on the earth, not to over harvest, and I get to partake in camaraderie when I get to share my harvest, or I feel gratitude when others share with me. Another aspect of this is that it has taught me to revere the earth and the land that provides me with this opportunity to harvest food. I rely on a healthy ecosystem to provide these nutritious foods, and with that, it has inspired me to try to use my voice to protect the earth, do everything I can to make sure that we're able to enjoy a stable climate, and us as indigenous people get to pass on our ways of life and practice. And so I hope there are allies out there that can help us with that, and I hope to pass this on to generations to come. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, I'm G. Smalls, co-owner and executive chef of Virgil's Gala Kitchen and Bar down in College Park, Georgia, and I'm also author of the book Black Enough, Man Enough. The tradition I carry on is my Gullah Geechee culture. It's in me, it comes through my veins, I live it every day, And I especially live it every day because I own a restaurant that is traditional Gullah Geechee cuisine. You can't find food like this unless you're in Gullah Geechee culture. We serve all of the traditional Gullah Geechee dishes like red rice, okra soup. We even got shark meat in there. And another way I carry on my tradition is the way I talk. Because I know Gullah Geechee language is an official language, and I ain't gonna let nobody make me feel shame for my language like they used to do back in the day. That's why it's so important to keep the culture going. Keep the culture going, not only because they made us feel less than for being Gullah Geechee people, but because most importantly, it is the oldest black culture in America. 75% of black people can trace their roots through the Gullah Geechee culture, and we must know where we came from to know how strong we are and to know where we're going.
Hello, my name is Ayana Johnson, and what family means to me is purpose. I've discovered my purpose through my family. I have a 13-year-old son named Malachi, and his dad went to prison when he was of age 1, and his father was sentenced to 12 years in prison. So now Malachi is 13, and his dad will be home this year. But I discovered the guiding light to find this passion to want to help other women that's raising boys due to an incarcerated father. I initially gravitated to the darkness, and then when I found this guiding light, it gave me purpose. It gave me a reason to want to fight for my son's future and the success, breaking generational curses and just doing the necessary things to alter his path in life so he didn't make the same mistakes that his father did or any other man in my life. So that's our story, and that is definitely what I've discovered through family purpose.
Tradition I carry on from Jamaica is my love for great food. Growing up in Montego Bay, Jamaica, I got introduced to different types of food. For example, jerk chicken, curry goat, and a platter of seafood. My mother is a great cook, and I fell in love with the kitchen while helping her cook at a tender age. I created my first meal at age 9, trying to surprise my mother before she got home from work. It was a hit to my surprise. She enjoyed it, but from then on, it became my duty. I've traveled across the island eating at various places known for certain dishes. Portland for their jerking, Clarendon for different types of seafood, St. James for their rice and peas, St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland for their curry dishes, Kingston for the variety of street food that comes with a flair, Trelawney and St. Anne for their roasting of yam and breadfruit. Oh my God, just thinking about all this food have my mouth watering. So when I moved to San Antonio, I saw that there was a need for real authentic Jamaican food. So I decided to bring in that experience to the people of San Antonio, sharing my rich Jamaican culture, hoping everyone can enjoy my love for food and the culture of the great taste of my little island flavors.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Tam, and I'm one of the co-founders of Welcome to Chinatown. We're a grassroots initiative serving Manhattan Chinatown small businesses and helping them provide free resources and tools to sustain their operations during these unprecedented times. The tradition I keep is using food as an expression of love and care. As a resident of Manhattan Chinatown, I see this tradition being kept alive day in, day out by the many incredible local businesses and restaurants who serve food as a reminder of a taste of home. Whether home is another country for an immigrant now living in America, or home is Texas for someone like me, a first-generation Chinese American who grew up on my mom's Cantonese home cooking and my aunt's Chinese restaurant in LA. In Chinese culture, oftentimes family members show expression of care and love for their loved ones, not through spoken word, but through acts of service. And anything centered around food, whether that's fighting for the bill at dim sum, cooking your children a full meal after a long day's worth of work, or serving fresh cut fruit for friends or relatives who come to visit you. All these things are common expressions of love within Asian culture. And that was, of course, no different in my own family, where things like language barrier between me and my grandmother meant we were left to showing expression through action. Every time I'm served cut fruit at the end of dinner at a Chinese restaurant, I'm reminded of my grandmother and fondly think of how she would peel many, many oranges for me whenever I went to go visit her, saying "sekdori" to encourage good health. But in the underlining words, with the underneath that was to show her love in a simple way that she knew how. When I moved to New York and planted roots in Chinatown nearly a decade ago, this is where I found the little moments of tradition and comfort as a new transplant to the city. It's in the way that the waitresses and waiters at my favorite Chinatown restaurants address me as Lang Lei as they took my order, or again, the usual cut oranges that you would find at the end of a great Chinese meal. Our initiative, Welcome to Chinatown, provides a number of free resources for Chinatown businesses to sustain and preserve the longevity of their operations. While we've grown to several different initiatives in the short 6 months that since we started, one of our first initiatives we started was with Feed Our Heroes, a program where the public can donate meals to frontline workers, which were prepared by local Chinatown restaurants. Food was central to our efforts in supporting Chinatown small businesses while also feeding New York City's frontline workers in the midst of the COVID crisis. Essential workers crave comfort meals after long shifts, and sharing them a piece of Chinatown through meals supplied by Chinatown businesses was just another example of using food as our main expression of care and love. For these restaurant owners, they told us how much this helped them through these tough times. And it wasn't just by financial means, but also knowing that their food was providing a comfort that through food that they would feed to their own families, but to others and nourishing them and to those that were keeping us safe. Our goal for Welcome to Chinatown is to help these establishments keep their doors open despite these uncertain times. Chinatown gives so much but asks for such little in return, and it's so important to us that they continue to exist and in order to uphold and preserve the many traditions of Chinatown and Asian culture. In many ways, Welcome to Chinatown has become a love letter of sorts. It's a thank you for helping people like myself explore my own Asian American identity. So Chinatown, thank you.
You don't know what it's like to be a mother while healing your invisible wounds and discovering the woman you were meant to be. My journey through motherhood and the love I have for my children placed me on a path of self-discovery, healing, and breaking the chains of generational cycles of abuse. Being a mother gave me the courage to face the past, the purpose to seek help in the present, in my promise of a brighter tomorrow. My children and the generations to come will not bear the scars of those who came before them. They will not carry the burdens of the past, and they will not suffer because they had a parent who just didn't know any better. Because the truth is, I did know better. I always knew better. I made a choice that my children would not go through what I did. It took work, counseling, strength, and courage, but because of my children, I could do this. For them, I would do anything. They are my purpose. It is because of them that I am now the woman I was meant to be. For them, I conquered the demons of the past, created the balance of the present, all so their future and the future generations could be freed of the chains forged by those who came before that just didn't know any better.
Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Watson. I am originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and I now reside in this closet in New York, which I love. I love it. I'm very grateful for it. But I was raised to believe that food can definitely heal all wounds and bring people together. I was taught that by my grandmother, who had Sunday dinner every Sunday. All the local family would come together and eat and hash out any problems that we might perhaps happen to have. But it also progressed me to creating my own catering company and food service company. I consider myself to be a foodie and a food connoisseur. I love to eat. But it has also inspired me to continue the tradition of Sunday dinners. I don't do it every Sunday, though I'd like to, but it's New York, stuff happens. but I often have friends over also during the weeknights, just because New York is so transient and people don't feel like there's time to eat or there's a reason to eat, so I'm giving them a reason. Come on over, have something to eat. It'll be wonderful. But it also inspired me to create my own table here in my closet because I knew I needed a big table for all my friends and family when they come up to sit around and enjoy. So I actually went true New Yorker in this, found 2 tables that people were giving away, a square table and then actual desk and this beautiful piece of this beautiful piece of maple rather, just attached on top, and now I have a 9-foot table in my apartment. Who could ask for more than that?